Okay, I'm so sorry, I won't do that again. We will get into the greatest love story of all time in a moment, but remember, no spoilers for up to episode 3, but this will have spoilers for the game because it differs greatly. With that out the way, let's jump in. Before I talk about the love story that makes Up seem emotionally hollow, I'm going to start at the beginning and what little we see of our main characters. Also, I just need to nod to the score and the setting real quick. I know I've mentioned it in the past videos, but whenever I hear those acoustic guitar strings, I am home. And the scenery is just phenomenal and really speaks to the fact that humans are just destroying the planet. I'm looking at you vegans who get your avocados flown in. Even without the fantastic story and characters, The Last of Us TV show really got the background stuff nailed. We start with Ellie and Joel on their way to Boston, and Ellie straight off the bat tells Joel rightfully that it's not her fault that Tess has died. Joel does a weird nod thing, which I think means you're right, but it's hard to tell considering so far Joel communicates entirely with Ellie using grunts and glares. We go to Joel's little stash, and like any man, he cannot remember where he tidied something very important to him. He does a quick man look, and that doesn't cut it, so we have to go full dad mode and start moving the furniture. In the meantime, Ellie does stupid kid stuff. So I know the story had to happen and we had to have a zombie and they needed to build tension, but I would not be opening any dark, scary trapdoor on my own during a zombie apocalypse. It's Scary Movie 101. She shone a torch down in the black hole for a tenth of a second and it looked safe enough, so she's just gonna hop on down there without even informing Joel. Kill me, please. After having a little gander, she found Tampax, which is absolutely definitely worth her life. After doing the stupid thing, Ellie gets a little jump scare from the same noise that gives me night terrors. Now this is a zombie stalker who is nearly at the clicker stage. You can find out more about the infected types in my The Last of Us playlist by clicking here or finding the link in the description. We know that this cuddly little fella isn't quite a full-blown clicker yet because we can still see one beautiful eye. However, we can clearly see, unlike him, that Mr. Zombie is blind. We get a little moment where Ellie does a slice and dice and we can see cordyceps underneath the skin, and then the little psycho eradicates Mr. Zomble. Right, so I have my first fairly negative thing to say about the show, and maybe it's a little bit too early for me to draw a full-on conclusion, but I'll articulate what I've got so far. I like Show Ellie. I think they've nailed the childlike side of her better than the games did. However, Mason said something during the podcast for episode 1 that just didn't sit right with me. During the scene where Joel goes full Hulk mode, we get a shot of Ellie looking what I thought was shocked. Mason said that this was her excited that someone was sticking up for her. So Ellie was happy that this guard dude now has a bloody crater where his face used to be. Mix that with the absolutely psychotic look on her face here, and I'm just concerned that they're turning Ellie into an emotionally void robot. HBO, the last time you let the showrunners do this to a character, it did not end well. I'm not saying that she shouldn't have killed a zombie because she absolutely should have. I'm just saying that a look of disgust or fear would have gone down a lot better compared to a psycho Wojak face. As I said, this is very early days and I hope I'm wrong, but I just thought it was worth noting anyway. We return to Joel, who found his very important stuff, and he's in the middle of leaving his amazing gun behind because there's no possible way to source bullets. Like tampons, they must be so hard to come by. It can't be that you might find some on your travels, or I don't know, be visiting a doomsday prepper who is jacked to the tits with ammo. But yeah, maybe this might come into the story going forward, I don't know. But what I do know is if you know what's going on outside the QZ, I'd be going out every single time looking like this. On our travels, we get a fun little piece of dialogue about aeroplanes. It's cute that Ellie is completely clueless, and it's sad that Joel attributes such huge and depressing moments in his life to airplanes. Ellie is a clever character to have here. Due to her isolation under Fedra, who seems to censor what information is given to the kids there, she's pretty clueless, meaning we can have characters like Joel explain things to the audience using her. Thus, we have a scene where 20 questions ensues. In the last episode, we were told that the infection spread because of the super bad flower. Joel confirms this in this episode with a pretty exact timeline. Friday the 26th of September sounds like a pretty shitty weekend to be alive, and who can disagree? Where is the Love was #1 in the charts that weekend. Halle Berry got divorced that weekend, and the guy who sang Singing in the Rain died that weekend. Further along question time hike, we come across a cute little pile of bones. I remember saying that Fedra were more morally grey in the series, but here it is. A whole bunch of innocent people were murdered because there were nowhere to put them. It's pretty dark and shows that these guys do mean business. From here, we get our flashback, and this comes 15 minutes into the episode, unlike the other two. But I suppose they didn't want to blow their loads with Offerman too early, plus we needed at least a little bit of screen time with Joel and Ellie to see how they're coping with the loss of Tess. What a class opening from everyone's favourite paranoid hermit. Bill is my new favourite character now that Tess is gone, but honestly, it might be because I think I'm married to Bill in real life. In a zombie apocalypse, I'd be dead by September 30th and my husband would be living Bill's life. Also, does anyone else want Bill's life? This guy had it good. I like to play a game game where I think about how many times I could die in a given circumstance. Now, I live off a diet of cake and toast, so I would have been pretty fucked from the get-go, but if I hadn't somehow turned into a walking toadstool, I'd have definitely died whilst installing my own booby traps. So well done there, Bill. Meeting Frank was funny. Straight away we see the two of them are pretty opposite to each other, and they have a great little dynamic. While Bill had a perfect life, he was completely alone. This episode beautifully shows how important human connection is, but also I want to know how Bill got that scanner. It was asked but never answered. The dinner scene was my favourite because it feels like it sums up both of them and their relationship. At the piano, Frank murders Long Long Time by Linda Ronstadt in a quirky and lovable way before Ron Swanson shows us why he makes the big bucks. This guy is just phenomenal, man. But also, Mason chose this song carefully, saying he knew he needed a song to suggest terrible longing, the nature of not just unrequited love, but a lifetime of unrequited love and a kind of surrender to your fate. This is why Frank's choppy and upbeat rendition and Bill's deep, vulnerable rendition speak so much about themselves as people, and how Frank is so easily able to read Bill and give him what he needs. I cried at the kiss. It was so tender, so emotional, and so vulnerable. Nick Offerman is a straight man who has never done a gay scene before. He was apparently nervous on set, and Murray Bartlett said that he guided him as best he could. Knowing this, it makes the start of their relationship so much more poignant because you know it would be something that was mirrored in real life. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about how this show told the perfect love story. Frank didn't have to stay. In fact, Bill wouldn't have let him, but they both decided to try and make their post-apocalyptic lives work. That, or Bill was really willing to go to some length to make sure no one found out about his life. What I love the most about the dynamic is how normal it is. Yes, the world's ended, and yes, there are zombies waiting in the wings to turn you into Toad from Mario, but life has gone on, and it doesn't always need to be miserable. They've made it work and built their own happiness, and that doesn't make it perfect. They're very different people who get under each other's skin in a lot of ways, but they love each other. I never felt that Joel and Tess had a loving relationship, whereas I absolutely do here. I honestly do wish to gush about the relationship more, and maybe I will in the future, but this video is already long enough, so I'm just going to talk about the bare bones today. I sort of hate the show for making me care about Bill and Frank. In the game, Bill's story was a sad one. Bill and Frank had been partners, however, Frank couldn't stand Bill anymore and ran away. By the time Joel finds Bill, Frank was already dead. In fact, this was his only appearance for a fraction of a second. If you're not paying attention, it's not even clear that they're a gay couple either. It's so brushed over. I've expressed in a previous video how excited I was to see a backstory for Bill and Frank in the show. I'm not going to say I regret that now, but I knew how things ended for Frank, and I hate that I now know him as a person. I know how wonderful he was. I knew his likes, his hobbies, the absolutes of his love, and I'm all the more devastated knowing this information. When we flash forward to 2023 and see Frank dying of cancer, I thought, oh god, here it comes. I didn't expect him to leave anymore. The show did a very good job of showing us that this was a lasting love. I did know he was going to die. However, I was not prepared for what came next. What Bill did for Frank and for himself, I'm going to need an MRI if this programme keeps gut punching me like this. This is bittersweet. Not this, you absolute potato fuckwits. Every week, guys. This bit will be in every week. I do not have words adequate to describe how beautiful their final day was, so I'm just not going to bother yet. I was in such a state. I honestly didn't think Bill had died. I'd gone into a very healthy state of denial that slowly broke down when I saw the food had been left, then the flowers were dying, and everything was exactly as it had been after Bill and Frank went to bed. From this moment, I knew that Bill was dead too, and it broke my heart. That being said, this is the best change they've made from the games yet. It tells a beautiful love story, and it's such a good addition to the overall story because of its impact on the main characters. Immediately after watching this, I was confused by the episode. However beautiful a love story, did it really need to be over an hour long just for characters that we may never see again? Yes, Artemis, you stupid pleb. The more I thought about it, the more I loved this change. The whole episode showed us how people survive after the outbreak. Normal, okay, semi-normal people trying to live their lives. But most importantly, Bill's letter to presumably Joel. This letter is written about Tess and Joel, but with Tess no longer in the picture, the person that Joel is urged to protect is Ellie. This is the second time in a row now an episode has ended with someone important to Joel telling him to protect Ellie, and might be partway the reason for him becoming more of a human in future episodes. They take what they need from the house as instructed by Bill, and Ellie even ends up taking a gun because she's absolutely definitely super smart. In the games, Joel eventually gives in to her asking and gives her a gun. I predict sneaky beaky behaviour is going to lead to nothing good, but we'll just have to wait and see. They take the car and head off to try and find Tommy, and the episode ends with the car driving away, shot through a window, which is presumably Bill and Frank's bedroom window. This show definitely has a thing for windows, as does the game. We've spotted scenes like this quite a few times now. Usually in art, windows are used to symbolise hope and change, which are two themes the show is running heavy with. I thought this was a nice touch and a good way to end the episode too. God damn, I really wish I didn't have to wait 7 whole days between episodes. Okay, I'm all done. I stream on Twitch on Wednesdays and Thursdays if you want to stop by. All the social links are in the description. As always, press all the buttons buttons, do all the things, and I'll catch you next time. Toodaloo!